The breeding season begins. The male hairy woodpecker appears early in the territory to find a safe place for the coming egg-laying season.
Woodpeckers often prefer standing dead trees, trunks that are moderately decayed, or areas with...
In many woodpecker species, drumming is not only for finding food, but also a form of communication, attracting a mate and asserting territory. Some woodpecker species like to excavate nests in slanted branches or on the underside of branches.
Choosing a nesting tree depends not only on the softness of the wood, safety, visibility, and the ability.
Tall standing dead trunks with few low branches often have an advantage in safety and visibility. Once they find an area with good acoustic response, the woodpecker will try to strip away the outer layer to examine the actual structure inside.
At this stage, the woodpeckers are like negotiators with the tree itself. Which spot is...
Unlike nests made of grass or leaves, a woodpecker's nest is a hollow cavity excavated directly into the tree.
In many species, both the male and female woodpeckers take part in excavating the nest cavity, although
After creating the mouth of the hole, the downy begins gradually hollowing into the inside. Even while excavating the nest, woodpeckers still have to stop constantly to check for danger. The safer
The entrance of a red-bellied woodpecker nest cavity is often made with great precision.
After creating the initial entrance hole, the woodpecker returns at dawn to continue hollowing deeper into the inside of the trunk.
Each strike is not only breaking wood, but also gradually shaping a hidden, safe living chamber inside the trunk.
Both the male and female contribute, one digging deeper, one refining the shape, helping the nest cavity become more complete.
The clearest sign of a newly excavated nest cavity is the fresh layer of wood chips beneath the tree.
As the nest chamber deepens, the northern flicker must push more of its body inside and use its stiff tail as a support point.
while one bird concentrates on digging the nest, the other often takes on the role of lookout to detect danger.
Whenever danger appears, nest excavation must stop at once. Survival always matters more than speed of completion.
Once the right soft core is found, the speed of excavation increases significantly.
A woodpecker nest cavity is not just a simple horizontal hole. Inside, it widens into a deeper and more enclosed incubation chamber.
Excavating a nest cavity is hard work and requires great stamina. The pair must take short rests before continuing.
Once the chamber is deep enough, the female can also go deep inside to widen the nest chamber from the bottom.
Woodpeckers do not only excavate the nest, they also constantly communicate with each other to coordinate their work.
The mouth of the cavity must be just right for easy entry and exit, but not too wide, in order to limit predators and rain.
This is a sign that the cavity is now deep enough for an adult bird to enter fully and evaluate the safety and suitability of the incubation chamber.
After many hours of work, the nest cavity has been excavated significantly deeper. The entrance
At this stage, the bird is no longer only digging deeper, but also widening the bottom to create a broader incubation chamber below.
The deeper the cavity is excavated, the more fresh wood chips accumulate beneath the tree. That is a clear sign that
Once the chamber is deep enough, the female often takes a greater role in refining the inner walls and checking the suitability of the cavity.
one northern cardinal inside the nest, one northern cardinal. This coordination helps the final stage. Woodpeckers often take turns entering the cavity, not only to excavate but also to test the safety, depth, and comfort of the nesting chamber.
When the cavity is wide enough, The bird can enter with almost its whole body to widen the bottom and adjust the internal structure.
The chamber must be deep and wide enough so that later the adult birds can incubate eggs, turn around, and care for the nestlings.
The mouth of the nest cavity must be just large enough for easy entry and exit, yet still compact to reduce rain and intruders.
When the nest is almost finished, the rhythm of excavation usually slows.
This is the stage when the birds begin trying the nest as a resting space. One bird spending long.
Once she has accepted the new home, the female will spend more time inside the chamber. This is a sign that the egg-laying stage is very near.
The pair completes the final inspections. The cavity entrance, the inner walls, and the bottom of the incubation chamber all meet the requirements.
The nesting chamber is complete. The acorn woodpecker pair is now ready to enter the next important stage. Once the nesting chamber is finished, the female begins spending more time inside the cavity. That is a sign that the time of laying eggs is very near.
From this moment, the female reduces outside activity and spends most of her time inside the nesting chamber.
The bottom of a woodpecker's nest is usually the layer of wood chips left behind during excavation, and it is
During the egg-laying stage, the male's role in protecting the area around the cavity becomes more evident.
The act of laying eggs happens discreetly inside the tree cavity, nearly completely separated from the outside world.
The first egg has appeared.
The male house sparrow usually does not intrude strongly into the laying chamber right after the female has laid.
But the layer of wood chips under the floor helps the egg avoid resting directly on hard wood, while also keeping the clutch stable deep inside the chamber.
After the first egg, the pair enters an extremely sensitive period. The quiet and safety of the cavity become more important than ever.
The clutch begins to grow. In many woodpecker species, the total number of eggs often falls into the range of.
In woodpeckers, drumming is not only linked to feeding or excavation, but also to territory and communication.
The freshly laid phase is often a time when the clutch gradually becomes complete. Only afterward does the pair. The clutch is clearly taking shape.
Once the clutch has appeared, keeping a safe buffer around the nest becomes even more strictly enforced.
This chapter closes as the woodpecker's first clutch has formed inside the tree cavity. From here, the pair will move.
The clutch continues to be completed day by day. In the enclosed darkness of the tree cavity, each new egg appears almost in complete silence.
As the clutch nears completion, the male keeps the rhythm of contact and territorial defense more than excavation.
The white eggs lie together on the bed of wood chips left from excavation, forming the typical clutch. The clutch size in woodpeckers varies by species. In many common species, the clutch often ranges around 3 to 8 eggs.
Once the clutch is nearly complete, the space around the cavity becomes an area guarded even more tightly.
By this point, the clutch is nearly complete. From here, the pair gradually shifts from the laying stage into the incubation stage.
From this stage onward, the male and female begin taking turns holding the clutch. In many woodpecker species, both parents incubate. This is the true beginning of incubation. The adult bird's body covers the eggs to maintain a stable temperature for embryo development.
Alternating incubation allows one bird to remain with the eggs while the other briefly feeds and restores energy.
Woodpecker incubation shifts can change quite quickly, helping keep the clutch continuously covered.
Turning and adjusting the eggs is an important part of incubation, helping them receive heat more evenly.
In many woodpecker species, the male often takes the night incubation shift and part of the daytime shifts as well. In the darkness of the cavity, nighttime incubation proceeds silently, yet it is critically important for the development of the embryos.
The incubation cycle has stabilized, exchanging turns, maintaining continuous warmth, and minimizing the time the clutch is left uncovered.
Chapter 5 closes as the great spotted woodpecker clutch is now complete. and the stage of alternating incubation.
The days of incubation begin to pass in a steady rhythm. Inside the enclosed cavity, life develops silently beneath the warmth of the parents.
Both the male and the female barn swallows incubate. The shift changes often happen very quickly, so the clutch can retain heat continuously. Heat from the parents' bodies is the decisive factor that allows the embryos to develop normally during the incubation period.
While one bird incubates, the other must seize the chance to feed in order to maintain enough strength for the long series of incubation days.
A tree cavity helps protect a Gila woodpecker's eggs much better than exposed nests when strong wind passes through.
In many red-bellied woodpecker species, the pattern of taking turns incubating continues over many days in the same repeated rhythm.
Little days of incubation may seem uneventful from the outside, but inside the eggs, the embryos are changing every day.
While incubating, the pair tightens control over the space around the nest even more.
In many woodpecker species, the male often takes the night incubation shift and part of the daytime shifts as well.
As the end of incubation approaches, the parents often become even more careful with every movement over the clutch. The first sign that hatching is near is often extremely subtle, a tiny movement within the shell.
In the final days, the parents often react very delicately to small changes coming from the clutch.
The incubation cycle has lasted many days. The pair seems to sense that a transition is near.
Chapter 6 closes in a moment of waiting. After many days of continuous incubation,
A tiny movement inside the shell signals that the chick has gathered enough strength to begin its journey out.
The first crack appears. The chick is using its tiny beak to break the hard shell from the inside.
The male also senses that something has changed inside the nest. From this point on, every movement around
the hatching process does not happen all at once. The chick must use its own strength to break the shell bit by bit.
The first beak has pierced the shell. The life inside the egg is now visible for the first time.
While the female stays close to the clutch, the male keeps watch and guards the space outside the cavity.
The first blue-tit chick has been born. It is still extremely weak, eyes closed, body bare.
After the chick emerges, the mother tidies away some shell fragments and covers the nest again to protect the newborn and the eggs that have not hatched yet.
Hatching does not happen all at once. The remaining eggs will enter the moment of breaking shell, one after another.
The second egg has also begun to hatch. From here, the pace inside the nest changes very quickly.
From the moment hatching begins, the male also starts shifting from an incubation role into a role of helping with
the second chick has been born. The first tiny sounds inside the cavity announce that the piloted woodpecker nest has entered a completely new stage.
Chapter 7 closes with the first woodpecker chicks having emerged inside the tree cavity. From here,
the first days are the most fragile stage. The hatchlings are far too weak, unable to regulate their own temperature.
From the moment they hatch, the chicks already show a begging reflex when they sense movement or warmth from the parents.
From the moment the chicks are born, the male begins shifting strongly into the role of food provider and helper in raising the brood.
The first meals are very small and very limited, but they are the beginning of the chicks' hour-by-hour growth. At this stage, keeping the chicks warm is just as important as feeding them. The hatchlings cannot regulate their own body temperature yet.
After only a short time, the brood's begging reflex is already stronger. The nest begins to take on a new rhythm of life.
From now on, feeding will happen continuously and regularly. The parents must divide each prey item into tiny portions for the very weak brood.
The pace of chick rearing begins to accelerate. The more chicks hatch, the more frequently the male must make feeding trips.
In the early days, the hatchlings almost always lie in a cluster. Staying close helps them conserve warmth more effectively.
From the moment the chicks are very small, the parents already have to start maintaining cleanliness inside the cavity.
As the number of hatchlings grows, the parents often give food first to the chicks that respond most strongly or stretch the highest at that moment.
In a very short time, the robin chicks already show clear changes, stronger reflexes, more movement, and more intense begging.
Raising chicks is not only about feeding. One parent warms the brood inside, while the other guards.
When night falls, the priority returns to warmth. The brood will pass their first nights under the mother's insulating feathers.
Chapter 8 closes with the pileated woodpecker brood having passed their first days after hatching.
After only a few days, the brood has changed visibly. From weak bodies that were almost motionless, they now begin to grow quickly day by day.
The begging response has become much stronger. When the parents appear, the whole brood almost immediately.
As the chicks grow quickly, the frequency of the parents' feeding trips increases noticeably.
Wild competition among the chicks begins to appear. The one that stretches higher or reacts more strongly is often the first to be fed.
This is a very important developmental sign. The first feather sheaths have appeared, showing that the chicks are moving from the nearly
Raising cavity nestlings cost a great deal of energy. As the brood grows quickly, the parents must increase the number of feeding trips throughout the day.
As the neck muscles and body strength improve, the chicks begin to stretch higher when begging. This is a clear advantage.
When chick rearing becomes intense, the parents may coordinate very tightly. One brings prey back, the other immediately passes it on to the brood inside.
As the chicks grow and eat more, maintaining cleanliness inside the cavity becomes even more important for the environment of the whole brood.
The young feathers continue to develop each day. This is the foundation for the later stages, when the chicks will open. As they grow, the brood reacts extremely strongly to the sound of the parents returning. They almost all surge toward the source of food at once.
The robin chick's responsiveness is increasing quickly. They are beginning to associate the movement, shadow, and sound of their
jets. Although they are bigger, the chicks still need shelter, especially at night. But clearly they are no longer. Chapter 9 closes as the woodpecker brood has entered a strong growth phase. They beg more intensely, their feather sheaths are more obvious.
The neck, legs, and body of the chicks are now stronger. They are no longer only opening their mouths for food, but also.
The cavity is more crowded, the brood is larger, and every time the parents return with prey, the whole chamber seems to The first wing-spreading movements appear. Though still weak, these are the earliest preparations for later wing exercise.
As the brood grows, the role of full-body brooding decreases. Instead, the mother mainly manages the brood's position. The brood is now responding not only to food, they are also becoming strongly aware of light, sound, and movement beyond the entrance.
Unlike many birds raised in grassy nests, woodpeckers grow up inside a wooden cavity.
The first wing beats are short and clumsy, but these small motions will gradually strengthen the chest and shoulder.
The distance from the nest floor to the entrance is no longer an unreachable world for the largest chick. They are gradually advancing toward the threshold.
As the nest becomes crowded, each night inside the cavity also changes. The chicks constantly adjust position.
The parents continue a constant rhythm of care, but the chicks now require more food and more room to move than before.
For the first time, the world outside is no longer just a vague glow. To the chick nearest the opening,
The parents' calls now do more than signal food. They also begin to act like guiding signals, drawing the chicks closer to the entrance.
The first moment of reaching the threshold has arrived. Even though it retreats again, the brood is now.
Chapter 10 closes as the acorn woodpecker chicks have opened their feathers, learned to brace themselves, and turn toward the cavity entrance.